everyone. I promised you Erick Black, and we've got Erick Black. Everyone loves you if you didn't notice the responses to your video being posted.
Very sweet, yeah.
So you guys, rules as always. Don't ask any boring questions, please. I know he's a publisher, but he's not going to be hiring us like right tonight. So let's have fun and ask good, interesting stuff. Quirky questions, welcome. If you do have a question, you could make my life a lot easier by typing the word question in front of it. So I'll know that you're not like comparing your kids' school run or having margaritas and saying hi to each other. But I will be keeping an eye out for all questions and filter them through. And let's have some, oh gosh, so many people are joining. I can't keep up. Let's have some fun on this call. Erick.
Yes.
Do you climb mountains?
I don't regularly. I did go to Mount Everest base camp, which it's not really climbing, it's hiking, trails. There are yaks carrying, your backpack. So it's not.
If a yak has to carry something, you're climbing.
Okay.
I mean, I'm afraid of little slopes.
Yeah, I'm terrified of heights.
Oh.
And there's a lot of these huge suspension bridges. There were times I was like, well, okay, let's just go back. But I mean,
you went with your dad.
Yeah. Yeah, he's more of the adventurous one. He loves camping. He'll go out in the woods. I mean, not so much anymore, but he would just take off with, some friends into the woods for 2 weeks. But so he's definitely the adventurous one. And he was like, I can't find any friends to go to Mount Everest with me. And I was like, I don't think I'm going to get this opportunity again. Let's do it.
And so being afraid of heights though, was that, because I'm afraid of heights and I'm literally in cold sweats listening to you. I mean, did you not think, what am I going to do? How, or are you just like, I'm going to bravely face this down?
Yeah, I thought I was going to be super brave and show no fear, but I was like literally hanging onto his backpack with my eyes closed a few times. Like, let's get over this bridge.
Were there any times that you were like wanting to go back? What have I done?
I mean, not really. I knew, I knew that there was no way we came that far. It's the whole first part of the journey, just getting to Nepal, navigating Kathmandu. This airport you have to fly into is the runway is so short. It's called Lukla, and it's one of the most like dangerous airports in the world. So even like flying your airplane to get to where you start to be able to walk is such an adventure. You're not going to get that far and turn around at any point.
So was this like, did it change you as a human being having done, I mean, because I wouldn't have been afraid of the plane, but just going to Nepal, I mean, that's got to change you as a human being.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just the culture is so different. The things, I mean, just the city is so congested. I don't know if you remember, there was a handful of years back, like an earthquake there. And I can imagine just how bad the destruction was, because like you look up at the telephone wires and electrical wires and it's just a jumble. It's odd, that it's safe, like that it's not just bursting in flames every second. I can't imagine. And the buildings are so close together. Everybody's just right on top of each other. I remember when that earthquake happened, I just thought, oh man, that had to be just awful and terrible. It's bad anywhere, but there especially, it had to be devastating.
What about the people? Did you make like connections with people? Or
yeah, I mean, the city is completely different. There's a ton of poverty. It's kind of that, that place where you walk down the street and everybody is trying to sell you something. I mean, all they really have is tourism.
Yeah.
But it's beautiful. I mean, we went to, before we even got on the mountain, we went to these temples around the city. There's one that there's monkeys running all over the place. It was wild, just like squirrels, but I mean more. I mean, everywhere you look, there were just monkeys running around in between people and trying to grab things from them. And it was so cool.
How long was the trip?
I think 20 days, something like that. It was a while, and we got stuck because of weather. We couldn't get off the mountain
Wow.
at the end of the trip.
Too bad you're not a writer, because this is some good stuff. I mean, you could write a. Did life not feel a little bit flat when you got back?
I was very glad to be home.
Really?
It was a tough. It was tough. I mean, it was kind of quick when we were on our way back down. We met some people on their way up, and we had told them how quickly we did it, and they were like, "We're taking twice as long." Just this particular tourist group we were with, that's the way they were doing the trip. Also, for I had my father was retired, but I had a job, and they weren't happy to begin with. I'm like, "Sorry guys, I'm taking about a month off."
Climbing Nepal, you can answer the emails.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, I mean, that's basically. I was like, and you can't get a hold of me because there's no real contact.
But I bet when you came back, it was the creature comforts, huh?
Yeah, I mean, the shower. You can take showers on the mountain. What they do is there's not a lot of firewood, so they use yak patties, which is dried yak poop, and they burn it, and they heat water, and then you go outside in the freezing cold, and they pour the water into a bucket that you then like a little valve, and you can shower that way. But the water doesn't get that hot. It's more just like above freezing at that point. So they're, just a warm shower was
a luxury. Okay, so I've got a question. I'm going to digress. I'm going to sneak these questions in here because it's a good time for them. Kim wants to know, did you have to train to deal with the elevation?
No. I probably should have.
Does it make you sick?
There's a medicine you take, and I can't remember what it's called, but it's to combat the elevation. My dad and I started when we got to Kathmandu, and I think we should have waited because we ran out before we were back down. And there was one day where I did get a little bit of elevation sickness, which wasn't nice, but really just fatigue was the main obstacle. Walking that long, and the food is different.
Like seasickness? Is it like and that's the thing, not food poisoning, but anytime is the food's got to be drastically different, right?
Yeah, so you're not supposed to eat any meat up there because it's all yak and chicken, but it's just not our Western stomachs can't handle it. So it's like food that you're so hungry, and it's just like food. It's like oatmeal. I can't even remember what we ate, but it wasn't like, you left like feeling satisfied and like energized, ready to take on the world. It was kind of like,
you're not living on protein bars.
Yeah. So
Melissa wants to know, if you don't like heights, do you ever go to Cedar Point and ride the roller coasters?
So oddly enough, there are certain things that don't bother me. One of them is roller coasters. So it's been a long time since I went to Cedar Point or rode any roller coaster really, but that doesn't bother me for some reason. But
okay, so you're out of the phobic club. You're out of the phobic club if you were really scared of heights.
Well, but here's the thing is like, like an elevator with a glass side, even if it goes up more than 2 stories, I'm pressed up against the other wall.
See, I can do that. But roller coasters are like the closest thing to death anyone ever invented to me.
Yeah, I don't know why those bother me. I went skydiving once, and I thought it was going to be terrible, but for some reason, without that reference, you're up so high, I wasn't scared at all. I was before, but as soon as I got up to the door about to jump out, I was like, oh, this is weird. I'm not scared. I don't mind flying at all, actually, but there are some things I just feel like I'm going to toss myself right over the edge. I don't know why.
See, and that's the thing. I think in this line of work, I never realized how badly positioned I am to like survive, because like I do thrillers and any book really that you do aside from romances. Some of those would be hard to survive as well. Aside from the romances, you look at what the characters go through and you think, oh my God, I'd be dead like by chapter 1. Like I want to be wild and crazy, but the cushy suburban life, I think we're really spoiled, aren't we?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was a short period of time in my life where I was feeling, to be honest with you, I think I felt like, oh, the clock's ticking. I better do some wild adventurous stuff, because I was happy. Oh, I'll just stay home and watch TV, So there was a short period of my life when I was doing things. I know it sounds like, oh, I'm on Everest and I'm skydiving and blah blah blah, but no, this was not
it was
quite uncommon for me. Yeah.
It's good that you did it. What's your next thing you're going to do?
Just, you know what? I have two daughters, and they take as much energy. You've got to take a trip with them. Yeah. Oh, I really look forward to. I thought about that too. Like when they're older, if they want to do some of these things, that I'd love to experience that with them again.
Yeah, that'd be great. Now. Because like I bet it informed your father's relationship. You're in your father's relationship, doing something like that together.
Yeah,
that'd be like life-changing. Oh, that's exciting. Yeah, you can do a massive trip with your daughters when they're old enough.
Yeah,
maybe.
I think it'd be great to go. I probably would never go like all the way back up, but like if we're talking, Everest again, but there's kind of like a nice, I've got sort of maybe a third of the way up the mountain. There's still some creature comforts. You can go there. That would be amazing.
Or maybe a shopping trip to Paris.
They would probably like that too. It's too early. They both
put it
have
out there.
Personalities, but who knows what they're going to be into. That's
okay. So 10-year-old Erick, I normally launch in with this question, but I'm really curious. Did you always want to end up doing what you're doing now and being who you are now? Who were you when you were 10? Were you the quiet kid? Did you have dreams of flying spaceships or?
Gosh, no. Yeah, no. 30-year-old Erick didn't think he was going to be here. 10-year-old, I can't even. I know at one point I wanted to be a nurse. A lot of my family's in medical fields in different ways. I thought maybe I'd be a nurse. Is what I was maybe thinking at that point. I remember wanting to be a stuntman.
Well, you got close on the mountain.
Yeah.
So were you like getting in trouble on a day-to-day basis, or were you like a shy sit at home, listen to the radio kid, or?
Yeah, I was shy. TV. I liked. At that age, we played outside a lot too.
Yeah.
You can choose what you were. I was thinking about that like just the other day. Like my daughter, you could give her an iPad and she'll watch YouTube nonstop. And I was like, why didn't we do that? And I was like, oh yeah, because all of a sudden a show would come on you didn't like, so you just.
I'm not jealous of them. Do they play outside anymore, kids?
They do, and we're we definitely try to be careful about how much they're watching. We're probably over the recommended screen time many days when you just got to get stuff done, and unfortunately it's the easiest way to keep a child.
Didn't you watch TV like that? We watched TV till like 2 a.m. when we were growing up. We had a TV in our room, and as long as my little sister would hold that aerial so I'd get a signal, we were good. We'd watch it all night.
I remember watching TV until the stations would turn off. It just, you'd get the screen and they're like, okay, that's the end of our broadcast day.
I don't remember that happening.
Oh yeah. Well, we didn't have cable either until I was older. And then you could at least get the the Ron Popeil spray on hair infomercials or whatever. You could watch those, which I know I watch plenty of those late at night too. So that was cool.
We've all got our poison. Every generation, I guess, has that. So 10 years old. So you go through school and everything. Good student?
Mostly.
They're all talking about, now you've launched, they're all talking about how old they are. Commercials. So college, when did you start to make the swerve and end up in publishing?
About publishing, and it's a little bit of a longer way there. But when I was my last few years of high school, I had a friend that played drums and another friend that played bass, and they were like handing me a guitar and they said, learn to play this and we're going to be in a band. So
I love the high school band thing.
Yeah, I mean, it was terrible. We were terrible. And I got for Christmas a 4-track recorder, which was because you put a cassette in it and you could record 4 different tracks. So you could play guitar and sing and play drums or play bass or whatever, however you wanted to do it. And you can write little songs. And I used to do that. I'd come home and I'd do that till I went to bed. So I went to school. I wanted to be an audio engineer, and I thought I would work in studios and record rock bands and be a producer of music and famous and everything like that. I got out of school and I realized I didn't like recording other people so much. I liked recording myself. But I tried the best I could to stay in the industry. So I did a lot of things. I did live sound, both for like a company hauling speakers around. I worked at a bar/laundromat that had music, running sound there.
Wait, a bar/laundromat? So people would go do their laundry and get pissed while they're doing their laundry?
Exactly. It was great. I was a patron before I worked there. Yeah, and they had music at night.
I think I'd have
it was
really
terrible.
Clean clothes.
It was a dive. It was dirty. I don't know how you could walk out of. You'd set your clothes on the ground after washing them, and they'd be sticky again. But and it was really hard running sound, trying to mix in a box with a bunch of washing machines behind you.
Yeah,
basically. It was just a terrible acoustic environment. But it was really, really popular in the 90s. By the time I got there, it was sort of on the decline, and it was a lot of metal bands and hip hop acts it wasn't as cool as I thought it was going to be either, but it was, it was a job. And then I ended up at a TV station. Then I was at a company that manufactures bells, like brass bells. And they had these things called electronic carillons that play, you have enough bells, you can start to play songs on them.
Okay, so wait, I don't want to interrupt, but I'm just curious. How do you find these jobs? Are you okay, anything to do with sound and then picking up Craigslist or the classified?
That is exactly it. I knew too many people that didn't use their degree, and I was like, I am staying in this industry, whatever I have to do.
Okay. I love that though, because it rounds it out. It's good that you're.
It was. I learned a lot. I mean, I learned way more in these jobs than in school and in reality. But then my wife, who is also from the Toledo area, so this was mostly in Cincinnati, where I lived pretty much. I turned 18, moved to Cincinnati, and I was besides other places, but
had you already met your wife? Like 18, met your wife young?
It's funny. I knew her, but we weren't really friends. We had some mutual friends, which is how we met up all these years later. When we were like, okay, we were going to start a family, knew Cincinnati wasn't really a great place for us to do that. I mean, it would have been fine. But we decided to move back to Toledo, where our parents both were, and family, just a good thing to be around family at that point. And
have you noticed that your life is like a jigsaw puzzle? Have you noticed that? It's all, you're picking up pieces about the career, the wife. I knew her. I did, this fits here, this fits there. It's all, I know where my end game kind of is. I know what I love. And you just fit the pieces in. I love that. Like every job you had was weird and out there, but there was a theme.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I never really thought
Love
about it,
that.
but yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
So,
so
yeah, so we knew we were going to move back here, and I started looking for jobs. I looked for jobs for a year, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna work at McDonald's or something, probably, because there are not a lot of audio opportunities in Toledo. And
were
then
you
one
freaked out by
day,
that? Were you like, what am I
yes.
going to do? How am I ever going to make it in this career? Because by now it's been a few years, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, back 7 years.
Did
Been
you
here.
consider maybe I should give up and find something different at that point? Or were you like, no, I've got to do this or I'll die?
Yeah, I actually, that was like one of the first times I said, well, you know what, it's been a good run, but maybe not audio this time. Maybe something different. So I was looking at other places, and then just saw this company I never heard of, audiobooks. Honestly, an industry I did listen to some audiobooks, but never really thought about the way they were made or how to get into it. And
But
they
the
needed
word
an
audio is
engineer.
right there in the title. It beats McDonald's.
Yeah, and I like reading. I've always liked reading. You never have enough time to read. So wait, okay, so they want me to go and read books with a narrator and record them, and that's honestly, from an engineer standpoint, that's a piece of cake to hit. Put up one mic and hit record. It's a lot easier than miking up a drum set and everything. So,
And I bet they loved you because you had experience and an ear by that point. So
yeah. So yeah, I came in and I did that, and then one day they were just like, "Hey, I think we want you to start casting and producing." And I was like, "All right, I guess I can do that." I've heard a lot of narrators now, and now I'm hardly ever in the studio. I mean, I still do a little bit of editing here and there, some sound design, projects that are pet projects of mine that or that we just have a real hard need. But I hardly ever. I mean, I don't run sessions anymore, and I don't mind at all. I just like
yeah.
it so much. I love finding the perfect people to read the books, and the community is so awesome. Really, I don't know, narrators, the way that they lift each other up, and everyone's like, you gotta meet my friend, that you gotta hire my friend. Like, who, actors don't do that. What,
I saw a writer on Twitter today, funny you say that, saying, Twitter, everyone's so nice, which honestly surprised me. She said, Twitter's everyone's so nice. Facebook is so toxic. And I've heard that before from people. And every narrator friend I have is on Facebook. And I can't think of one instance where a narrator that I know or I'm in a group with has been toxic towards another and not like said the best about them behind their backs. I mean, they even say nice things behind each other's backs. Do you know what I mean? They're like,
yeah,
because
yeah,
I think they're also grateful. It's like a dream job that you never thought existed. A lot of us wanted to be actors, or we read a lot, and now somebody's like handed us the most wonderful job on earth. And the only thing, and I think that maybe is why when AI came along, everyone's reacting so much, because secretly, don't we all kind of think somebody's going to catch on that we've got this and take it away from us? They're going to figure it out. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you've made friends. How long have you been doing this now?
In like 7 years, casting between 5 and 6.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
Wow. Nothing that annoys you about the job? The hours?
Oh no, the hours. It's funny. I find myself checking emails after, when I go home, or reading scripts when I go home because I want to, not because I have to. I mean, there was a time when we were really overwhelmed. We kind of scaled up without totally building the infrastructure first, because it was just, I mean, audiobooks, boom, 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 boom. It's like, we got to make more. We got to make more. And there was some stressful days, you know, really. In the way we work, we sometimes really have tight deadlines. We've gotten to where we can stay ahead of it, but there was, of course, always stressful days, but there's not like one part of this job I say, you know, that I loathe.
Yeah.
Maybe dealing with agents sometimes can be.
Maybe one of your daughters will become a narrator. Wouldn't that be
You know,
good?
one of my 6-year-old has come in and read a few things for us, little bit parts. We do a highlights, and we had me and our children's video director, his son came in, and we had them reading. So yeah.
Have you ever narrated a book?
No. I read one line. We did a graphic novel called Tomboy, and I did one line in it that's out there, and I say, "Hey, baby." Otherwise, I think I kind of sound like a Muppet. So I think it's best to keep me on the other side of the glass.
So all-time favorite book, like for pleasure, you're going to sit down and read a book.
Ooh, that's hard.
It doesn't have to be a specific person, because I know that's hard.
Not my favorite author, but I one of the last things that it was really a lot of reading, I say, is the Dark Tower series, Stephen King.
Really?
I just kept, I had started The Gunslinger and I never finished it, and I found this really cool like second printing of the first book, and I was like, I'm gonna read it, and I really liked it. And then I was like, I'm just gonna finish a series, which, you know, those are like 1,000-page books, and there's 8 of them, 7 or 8. So that was kind of like a marathon for me, and that's but I really enjoyed the story. I was terribly disappointed when the movie came out, which was,
you know, his one that's I always get the title wrong, but the title is a date. Like, I always want to say 9/11. It's not 9/11, but it's the Kennedy assassination date. And it's you know, that one, that's the reason I became a narrator, that amongst other ones. But that one, I was obsessed with that audiobook. The audiobook itself was like, I don't know who it was. Because at the time I wasn't a narrator, 11/23/66 or something like that. And at the time I wasn't a narrator. So I wasn't thinking, oh, who's this, who's that? Right. I listened to, I almost went blind for a little while. So I would listen to audiobooks every night instead of read. I couldn't read for a long time. Then my eyesight came back, but listening to audiobooks was so much better. Why stop? So yeah. I didn't realize it was something that like I could do. I didn't know. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And sure. There are some books, I think there's some books that you listen to. I mean, do you listen to audio? I mean, in your job, do you ever listen to audiobooks for like pleasure?
Yeah. I do actually. We have a local narrator here. His daughter wrote a book. And he was talking to them, and I was like, "Oh, check it out." I listened to it, and she narrated it herself, so it was like an author record, which also I'm usually like, don't try to read your own book. So it was kind of weird that I read that. And actually, the other thing that I started listening to was Dave Grohl's autobiography that he narrated too. So it's funny, the two author narrations.
I love that. And do you know that? See, because I'm very bad with names. Like when I watch a show, I don't think who the actor is. I'm engaged in the show. When I listen to an audiobook, I don't know who the actor is. So a few times I've been on like one of these calls, and it's clocked that this person I'm talking to was somebody that like read to me for years. Like, you know, and you put it like to like I think Peter Burkrot the other night. I was like, oh my God, wait a minute, that's you. And suddenly become like total fangirl. I don't know, it's replaced books for me. I mean, because you're casting, you don't have time. Obviously, there's no way you have time to just read for the fun of it.
Right. I mean, some of our books I will find like I would love to read every book that I'm producing, but usually it's like just enough to figure out who to do it or skipping around. But there are some that I really like, and I'm like, I'm going to read this entire thing, or it's complicated, and I want to know. I just want to know everything. I'm like, this is a really good book, and it deserves 100% of my attention.
Yeah. And you don't want any surprises, like the person you've been reading about the entire book turns out to have been dead and you didn't realize it. You know, we have a question, a quirky question. Have you ever been pranked? If yes, what happened? Or vice versa? Have you ever pranked anyone?
Oh, we like pranks around here in the office. So one of my favorite, someone gave me a Bluetooth speaker. And I like to take it, and when people are out of their office or away from their desk, hide the Bluetooth speaker and then play outtakes from audiobooks or like funny lines out of context. Which is just the funniest thing in the world to me. That usually whoever's getting pranked doesn't think it's funny, but
I mean, you guys obviously have that's because you go into work, you don't work from home then. You go into work.
No, we've been back in the office for quite a while. I mean, we were out, when everybody was out at the beginning of the pandemic, we were, but it's the building we're in is actually quite big, and they spaced us out when we came back. So we were able to distance. I mean, everyone was wearing masks around here for a while, although that's now not mandatory anymore.
Yeah, Lisa says we think it's funny, but yeah, Lisa, we're narrators. We think everything's funny.
Going into work.
Lillian
says, you know what? Jokes. Oh, the narrator things. Yeah, that was one thing that I do miss from being in the studios and doing editing, was finding those outtakes, like someone who forgot, like maybe messed up their punch and like left like them complaining about something in there, or we don't share it ever outside, but I have lots of those things, or when narrators would be in here. I have one, and we have this local narrator. She's a very sweet girl, and she was reading, and she'll mess up and she'll go, oh darn it, and then like the next time she messes up, it'll be a little bit more intense, like, gosh, shucks, and then it'll go on and on and on. And then at the end, she sounds like, she's just swearing like a sailor. So I like cut out every time she would mess out. And it's like 10 minutes of her progressively getting more and more aggressive with her language. Things like that just amused me.
But when you work in a studio, because I remember I'd done a lot of voiceover and acting on stage, but I'd never done an audiobook. But I thought, everyone's gonna laugh when they hear this. How hard could it be? So I go to the Royal National Institute of the Blind and I do an audition, and they call me the next week and give me The Days of Anna Madrigal. I show up in the studio. I don't know if they've asked me if I've ever done an audiobook before. But like, I didn't have a clue. I was so panicked. I was reading books about like what not to do. And it said, don't apologize when you make mistakes, because you'll look like a rookie. Don't apologize. So I would make a mistake. I go like that. But the thing that I'll always remember, I mean, the guy had to have known. I mean, I'm sure I didn't fake it. I mean, I hope I did a good job. Nobody complained or anything, but your first audiobook is your first audiobook, and it's quite a shock when you realize what narrating for 4 hours and then come back in the booth. But you learn that the editors, a lot of people are like, well, they don't have time to be directing you anymore. But to me, it's enough just to have the editor there, because it's like there's two of you guiding it through. It's just like someone there that's heard it. So all your actor stuff in your brain, have I embarrassed the family? Are they gonna like kick me out of the acting for the rest of my life? That's gone, because the editor's there and you trust him. And you know that he won't let you go horribly wrong. It might not be true, but I
definitely remember that too. Just saying, hey, it sounds good. Like how much the narrators would like appreciate that.
Yes.
And could, sit up and
Yeah.
kind of renew their spirit, because they're long, hard days sometimes.
We're our own worst enemies. The
Yeah.
voice, the stories of what we could be doing wrong. I mean, ridiculous. Not just being a narrator, being a freelancer, being an actor, being you're taking an actor who's a freelancer and locking them up in a booth to talk to themselves all day. It's a recipe for crazy.
Oh yeah, I can do it. Could not.
Do you still have a bunny? This is from Rebecca. And how is he?
We have 2 bunnies now. Junior is a Flemish giant.
Is that a real name, or is that just what you call him?
That is the breed.
Oh, okay.
Which I didn't realize was a thing until we were on our way to pick him up. And he is giant. They can get to be 22 pounds. He's probably, I don't know how big he is, but he's big.
That's bigger than a dog, isn't it?
Some dogs. He's bigger than our cat.
Wow. I bet
yeah.
What'd your cat say when you...
The cat does not like the bunny. The cat is scared of the bunny. The bunny is not really scared of anything. We also have a dog now that's bigger than the bunny. The bunny isn't a little scared of the dog.
Were there any worries? But were you not worried getting any of these animals in that the other ones would like attack them?
I was a little worried about the dog, but the dog also was not my idea.
Okay.
So everybody's separate. They can be, the bunnies are in a cage. The cat is good at hiding. The cat just kind of stands up on things and hisses at everything anyway. So, but the cat is the oldest. We've had the cat the longest. We had 3 cats, and then somewhat suddenly one of them died last year, which was just heartbreaking. And then the other one was super old, and she fought for as long as she could. And so we're down to the last cat, which is the most annoying, the one that scratches on things and will pee on a pile of clothes if you leave it out. That one is the one that's going to live forever.
That's a trick to having a long life, is being that character.
I think so.
But the other thing is having pets. I was thinking this the other day. I keep birds, but we always had dogs and cats our whole life growing up. And it teaches you about death. I can't imagine being a child not having a pet, and how hard that must be that must be a shock when you get older and have to experience it, because do you know what I mean? It's hard enough when you've been through it and you know it's coming.
Yeah, and it was like the 5-year-old, we were able to have those conversations with my 5-year-old. She's 6 now, but which I think was good for her. And actually, she handled it probably better than I did when the one cat died. She actually handled it really well. The little one, it was 2 at the time. She's 3 now, but it was a little bit weirder for her. Like, we're putting the cat in a box out in the yard now, and she's like, after the first one died. And she kind of came in and she's like, okay, let's put the other cat in the box now. Let's get this other cat out in the yard. We're like, no. This is not something, can't do that.
I don't know. Now you have to keep an eye on that rabbit and the dog.
Yeah, right. They're just, everybody's out in them. Where is it?
Honey, where are all the pets?
Yeah. So.
No. Handling it
but
too
she's
well.
Funny with the dog, which is bigger than her. She just grabs him and just carries him around, and the dog's just like, oh my god, she's so patient.
I think it's important. I think it's I can't imagine. And all respect to people that do, but I can't imagine living in a house without a pet. I just
Yeah.
Well, I can maybe go a month and I go crazy.
I think always, except for a short amount of time. Actually, when I went to college, I got a fire-belly toad and kept him in the dorm. Actually, now that
a what?
A fire-belly toad, just a little.
Oh.
Orange stomachs. Probably one of those pets you shouldn't have, but
touching it would be. I think I would. And I wanted to get a guinea pig until I found out that they're too fat, so that if they land on their feet, they can break their legs. And I thought, there's only already one of us in the house always on diet, so let's not compound it.
That's how we ended up with the first bunny. Was my daughter really wanted a dog, and we were like, we're going to get an animal and you can show us so you can take care of it. And then we'll talk about a dog. And we started looking at that, hamsters, guinea pigs, and like all those sort of rodents are nocturnal.
Mm.
And I remembered I had a flashback to having a hamster as a kid and that wheel going in the middle of the night, all night in your room. And I was like, yeah, I don't think we want that. And that's where we ended on a rabbit. And then, yeah, we thought the rabbit was lonely. So we got another rabbit, and the rabbits hate each other. So they're in 2 cages.
Yeah, we got a bird because we heard that dogs were high maintenance. We didn't know that this one was raised outside next to dogs. So he barks loudly all the time. When he's not shrieking like we're abusing him, if we're not paying attention. And the ACX customer service rep actually, you know how they're very American and very serious. When you call ACX, they're lovely. But it's a lot of ma'am. And so the bird's screaming bloody horror in the phone. And I'm like, yes, about my paycheck, my royalty. And he finally goes, after like being really quiet for a while, he finally goes, ma'am, are you in need of assistance? It's like, no, it's just an animal. I swear I'm not beating a child. But you never know what you're going to get. I don't think you can get an animal hoping it's going to be easy. A goldfish.
Yeah, and we had goldfish. I've had goldfish throughout my life, and some of those, yeah, you at least know where it's going to be, right? It's staying in that tank, hopefully. So
yeah, they don't last very long, is the thing.
No.
So okay, so now I don't want to miss out. I think we've got questions coming. Who is your favorite? Oh, from Lisa. But she was going to hit you with this one. Okay, who is your favorite superhero character and why?
When I was a kid, I read comics, and I had some of my favorites were Captain America. I liked Ghost Rider, and Spider-Man. I mean, everyone loves Spider-Man, right? That one's obvious. I think I liked Ghost Rider for probably the longest in my youth because he was just cool. You know, his head catches on fire. He rides a motorcycle, and he had it's like a chain. He used a chain to beat people up. I don't know.
Yeah, he is kind of cool.
So I always thought that was kind of neat. Another thing, then the movie came out, and I was like, wow, I'm so disappointed in that. But
see, that's the thing. The movies, the very nature of a movie, of something you've loved, is a very risky prospect. Yeah. It's got to be a movie of the movie. The movie's got to come first. And they redid a series, my favorite audiobooks, with Penelope Keith, the Agatha Raisin series. It's just a lovely, it's like the queen of comfy, cozy mystery, which I don't listen to, but that Penelope Keith is a goddess. But they did a Sky series, and they made the main character like 20 years younger, and they made all the characters cool and hip. It's like, great, whatever. Question from Melissa. What do you okay, this is like kind of proper grown-up question. What do you have a burning desire to tell narrators? Interpret as you will. And by the way, Muppets are awesome.
They are awesome. What do I have a burning desire to tell narrators? I think, there's some advice. It's not even mine, but I heard it. And I think that it's important, especially new narrators, that not everybody is going to like your voice and what you do. But some people will. So that's both publishers and reviewers. Like how, if you have any Audible credits, you can, I'm sure, find a book where someone thinks you're the worst in the world and someone else is like, loved them. It's just so subjective, and it really is. And like, I know some people just take take reviews and rejection really so hard, and like they just want to quit. And I think that's a shame, because there is someone, I mean, probably, I don't know, maybe not everyone, but there's probably, most likely, the odds are that someone out there will really like what you're doing. And maybe it's just one person that doesn't.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
There's someone out there for everyone. Well, hopefully.
I don't want to talk in absolutes. But
there is someone. There's someone out there that will like everything.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. And and it's terrible too, I know, but there are also people that just like speed up, audio on things, and you shouldn't listen to them at all.
Yeah. Do you know that I don't, because I used to take the good ones, when I first started, take the good ones really seriously, and I'd be floating on air. I was going to be the next superstar narrator, and then I'd take the bad ones really seriously. So I don't, ever since then, I've got a partner. For 4 years now we've been doing this, and once a month we check each other's reviews, and we see if there's anything that like we need, like, Daniela, you've developed a really annoying lisp and 54 people have mentioned it. Please tell me about it. But other than that, I get it from a professional I trust. They get it from me. And I ignore the whole thing because I can't control it. Some guy ordering pizza in some weird, Bakersfield or something's had a bad day and hates my voice.
Yeah. Or like I said, like the people who will speed it up. They're like, I didn't really like the narration. I listened to it at 2x. I'm like, well, then you didn't hear the performance at all. I mean, that's what's lost there. That's why you don't do that. If you just want to consume it,
or you could sound like their mother-in-law,
Yeah, right. And I hate my mother-in-law, right? Like
I literally had a man walk up to me on a bus and scream at the top of his lungs. I took the same bus every day with my friend. I wasn't that loud. I swear I wasn't. We were in the back of the bus. He was a little bit crazy, but he walked up and screamed at the top of his lungs, shut up, I can't listen to your voice. What? I probably shouldn't be telling a publisher this though. But yeah, he hated my voice. Something about my voice made him ballistic. Like, I'm glad guns weren't a big thing back then, because this guy he hated me. And
wow.
If somebody's going to have a visceral reaction, it's nothing to do with you. You can't, how are you going to show up to work if you're worried that much about what people think about you?
Yeah.
There was another one I missed. It's a good one from Barbara. Barbara always has good questions. What's a topic you wish you knew more about?
That is a good question.
That's a deceptively simple one, but it's a good one.
There's a lot I wish I knew more about. Tell you right now, I don't know why I'm at this point in my life. I built a tree house, right? And it's the first structural, I've always liked to build and tinker, but it's the first like real structural thing that I've built. And I'm fairly proud of it, but I can look at it and go, wow, those steps are crooked and things like that. I do wish I knew more about woodworking at this point. And I'm trying to learn, but I wish, if I could just like snap my fingers and know all there is to know.
It would be woodworking.
Yeah, right now.
It'd be a good hobby tomorrow. Though. You can rebuild the whole house, and that's something you can kind of build on and learn throughout your life. Get better and better and better at it.
That was I know we talked about my dad earlier. That was another thing that he was always, carpentry was a huge hobby of his, and he would do stuff like that. Like, oh, okay, we're gonna. I think he built. I think when I was really young, he built like a whole addition, like put a library and another thing on the house. On my childhood home. I mean, that'd be awesome to be able to do that.
Do you feel? Because my father's Italian, and I was thinking the other day, I always wanted to learn to speak Italian fluently. We grew up in Italy. We spoke it when we were little kids, but in American Italian family, you lose it. But I'm like, who has time to learn it? And I've been thinking that. I've been thinking, you know what? That's because he's not here anymore. That would be a way to honor him, to
Mm.
carry on. Do you know what I mean? It's in a way learning something that your father was good at and loved doing. That's a way to honor him, don't you think?
Oh yeah, and actually, it's. I mean, he didn't help me with the tree house necessarily, but there's also some other like work around the house, and it is a while he's in his 70s now, and I could probably figure a lot of the stuff out, but I have been like, hey, can you come and help me with this? It's while he's still here is a great way to spend time, like that guy thing, like you don't sit around and be like, hey, let's talk about our feelings, Dad. So it's a
But
great thing to like
talk about your feelings without saying a word.
talk about is this board level,
I love that. I'm going to try to learn Italian. I mean, I don't have enough time to do it now, but with him anymore, but I still think it counts. I'm going to learn Italian. That's inspired me. Now, Jen has a quirky question, sweet or salty? But did I miss a backstory? Sweet or salty what? What? I
prefer like a salty snack or salty food, savory for sure. Like a breakfast. I'm not pancakes. I'm eggs and toast.
Got it. Bacon. Okay. Narrator wasn't emotionally listen at 3. Yeah, Linda. Narrator wasn't emotionally connected. I listened it 3 times. A real recent comment. That's so funny. I tried listening to something at 2 times after seeing someone say today that they do, and it's worse than AI. I'm looking if I've not missed any quirky questions, but we got tons of comments about goldfish and bunny rabbits at this point. The call's taken a weird turn. Okay, now, with my promise to try to end on a timely note, we had one call run at 2 hours, so now I'm trying to be good. I have a question for you. Kim, where are you? There's a word I always forget. Capsule, yes. Okay. So, you know how kids thank you, Kim. Kids, and when you go to school, I always wanted to do this, but they didn't do it at my school. They do a time capsule. And they put it they bury it with something that signifies that time, so that somebody's going to dig it up years later, and they're going to, what was that moment like? So if you were to put something in that time capsule to signify where you are now, who you are now, something you'd like to leave with the YouTube audience that's going to be watching this in 60 years, even a funny joke, something you'd like people to remember about Erick Black on this day in history.
I don't. That I'd put in a time capsule for the future to know.
Yeah.
Outside of work, like I said, it's so much about just being a dad right now with my kids. I feel like it'd probably be like a lot of caffeine or something like that, keeping up with my joke, but
well, I'm not sure you're not the only one. Barbara says don't put the goldfish in.
Yeah. Can I put the rabbits? No.
You won't want to let your daughters listen to this one.
No, yeah. I don't. Yeah, I don't know. I can't think of an object though that would signify that. Because I wouldn't put them in.
Do you have something you want, like your biggest heart's desire? What would you love? Physical, space, a holiday, an accomplishment?
Of course, time, right? I mean,
yeah.
I don't know anyone that wouldn't say that. Like he said, time to learn a new language, or time to, spend. It's weird because I've thought that, like, if I were independently wealthy, would I not want to do this job? I think I would, but
isn't that true? I thought that the other day. I thought, if I won the lottery, what would I change? I was like, well, I can't really be bothered to change much about the flat, and I love my job, and I can't get skinny by winning the lottery. So really, Nothing.
Yeah, so I that would be, yeah, I guess would be my answer, just time. Like it'd be great to, yeah, do this, have as much time at the house to do things that I want, much time to, yeah, spend with my wife and kids. And
Do you ever get sabbaticals, like a good time off, a good amount of time off? Are you good at giving yourself time off?
I'm terrible at it. I take time like when I need to, and usually some time over the holidays, which is sort of like the one time of the year where I'm like, okay, I'm not working for 2 weeks. I've tried to get a little bit better about it. The culture here is really awesome. We've changed a lot, and like it's nice. It's getting a lot more contemporary. There is that space and that understanding that people need their personal time. And I hope it's like this everywhere. I hope that this is just what we're seeing. There's always that thing like people are like, oh, kids have it easy these days. I'm like, that is the idea, right? Why are we trying to make it harder on the future generations? You want things to change for the better and for people to have more time. And I mean, it's not like things aren't getting done because it's easier to do them.
The more you do, the more presents itself to be. I remember, because I worked at a corporate office, and I remember thinking I worked really, really hard. And like, I really thought I was like killing myself overworking. And then I became a freelancer, and you've never met a meaner boss in your life until you meet yourself as a boss, when you're already a type A personality. But this is a really good point. Lily and Melissa both brought this up. One of my all-time favorite life-changing books. Have you listened to or read 4,000 Weeks by Oliver Burkeman? No. It's life-changing when it comes to time. It will force you to look at it in an entirely different way that you never even thought. And I've read every self-help book on earth since I was 8. And this one is highly recommended. You guys are right. Thanks, Lillian and Melissa. It really is. It's a
4,000 weeks.
4,000 weeks, because the premise is we all have about 4,000 weeks of our life, and how many have we used?
That was one of the, I talked about moving back to Toledo, and that was one thing that I thought about too, as I'm living in Cincinnati, make it back to visit like my parents maybe twice a year.
Yeah.
And I was like, geez, they're getting older. I was like, I can count now the number of times I'm going to be home to see them. And that really kind of made me think of something like just how precious that is, right? I mean,
because you start doing the math. I've started, and it changes the way you engage with people and the things that you consider. I used to spend so much time entertaining a lot of like just nonsense, and it goes for the reviews and the inner voice and the inner, who has time? Just get to work. You know what I mean? You want time to like spend with your daughters and your bunny and and maybe climb another mountain, or take your daughters to Paris. I'm telling you, that would be a father-daughter bonding trip. They'll grow up, want to climb a mountain. They'll be like, we don't want to go to Paris.
Yeah, who knows? I'm so curious where how they're going to turn out.
And that's the thing, you can live your whole life over again because you've got the kids, so you can experience it through them, can't you?
Oh yeah, I mean, like holidays. I was never, I always thought like, at least, second half of your life, you get over an age and it's like, Christmas, I know some people manage to keep the magic in that their entire lives, but I sort of got into this thing like, who cares? It's Christmas, and then like they come around and you're just like, get the cookies. We got to get the cookies for Santa. Come on.
I love that. I love that. That's the perfect way to wrap up this call. This has been wonderful. Eric, everyone loved you before you came on the call. We love you a million times more after the call. This was delightful. Thank you so much.
It was a lot of fun.
Thanks
for having me.
I'm never going to climb a mountain, but but I will start to try to learn Italian now. You've inspired me.
Awesome.
So, thank you so much. And the video will be up soon, guys. Thank you so much for joining. And Eric, wonderful. Thank you. Bye, guys. Thank you, everyone. Mwah. Bye, everyone. Bye.